to JNC Better Living's Rooted Yoga. Today's practice is going to be a 30-minute yin yoga practice. Yin yoga is a great way to release tight fascia or connective tissue in your body and to gain more flexibility and just kind of restore your body from the stress we normally put it under. So today we're going to start out in a butterfly pose, and you might want to grab some props before we get started. I have some towels here, I have a blanket, I have a couple of blocks and a big pillow. If you have a bolster that is a yoga elongated pillow, feel free to bring that as well. I don't have one with me here today. So I'm going to use a pillow instead. You don't have to have a blanket, you can use towels, you don't have to have blocks, you can use books. So I just wanted to give you those options because everybody is different. So when we get into these poses, I will offer you different variations that you can use to make yourself comfortable. Before we get started, just know that there are 3 tenets of yin yoga that are really important. The first one is to find a comfortable stretch and go into the pose at about 70% of your ability. We don't want to get into the deepest stretch. We want to give our body time to adjust and let gravity pull us down into a deeper version of the pose. The second tenet is simply that we find stillness. So we try to stop fidgeting. That's why we take time at the beginning to make ourselves as comfortable as we can. And then we just hold the pose for that length of time. And that's the third tenet, to stay. So we stay there and let our body acclimate to the position, let gravity pull us down, and then we slowly transition out of it into the next pose. So again, the first pose is going to be butterfly. And in butterfly, I like to use a blanket or a towel to sit up on. You can also use a rolled up yoga mat. I like to sit right on the edge because it helps to elongate my spine. And then we're going to take the soles of our feet together and our knees bent out to the side. Think about your legs like butterfly wings. So we can stay right here and just let the legs relax. If it feels like too much, you can take the feet out further. If it's not enough, you can bring them in closer to your body and let the knees kind of come out to the side. We don't want to bounce them or anything, and we do want to find this 70%. So for me, that's right about here. And then if this is too intense for you and you can't find a good version, you can use props like blocks or towels to put under your legs to kind of support them in this position so that you are not maintaining it on your own. The prop adds a little bit of stability. And then finally, we're either going to take some books or blocks with a pillow, and we're going to lean forward and figure out where we want the support so that as we lean forward, we can rest our upper body. In this pose, the stretch is happening in the inner thighs, the hips, and the lower back. So the upper body just gets the chance to rest. And so now we are just going to find our stillness and hold this pose for 5 minutes. And 5 more breaths here. Breath is a big part of yin yoga. As we breathe through the poses, we should take even inhales and exhales and try to elongate your breath to make those breaths last 4 or 5 or 6 counts. And one more deep breath in and deep breath out. And now slowly sit up, keeping your legs exactly where they are for now. And then we're going to reach our hands to the outside of our legs, and using our hands, bring the knees toward one another. And we'll do a transitional pose here, a little windshield wiper. So we're going to take our hands behind our sits bones, bring our feet a little bit wider, about hip distance apart. Let the knees fall over to the right, and then let them fall over to the left. Good, and then we'll go back to the right, and back to the left. And last time right. And last time left. Good, and then bring them up. And we're going to come into a saddle pose next. So the saddle pose stretches the quadricep muscles and then also stretches through the hip flexors. Now, a lot of my yoga students at first think they can't get into this pose, but with the props, usually everybody can find some modification unless you have some knee issues. And if you have knee issues, then I'm going to encourage you to instead get into a happy baby pose instead of this pose. So if you don't have a lot of knee issues, the goal of saddle pose, if you think about riding like a horse, is that your legs are kind of like you're sitting on a saddle, and you can just picture yourself bouncing up and down on a horse. Your calves are behind you or under your thighs, your knees are bent, and you slowly will start to walk your hands back, stretching through these hip flexors here as you stretch through the quadriceps as well. Now, this is not something that everybody can get into without props. So with the props, we can take a block or a couple of blocks, and or we can also drape it with a blanket, or we can create a little elevated option with maybe a pillow and some towels or some more blankets or a couple of pillows in order to support our body so that we don't have to lean backwards all the way. So how we would do this is we would take our calves to the sides of the blocks and then sit on the block. Now you're not bending as much into the knees, and then as you go back, you're not going back as far. And you can take this back pillow up as high as you would like it to. If you don't need the blocks to sit on, because you don't need that much elevation, you can maybe just take a rolled up blanket, sit it under your sits bones, and then use the blocks to elevate the pillow or the bolster even more. Something like this. And then you're a little bit more elevated here. So you come into it with the props however you want. Try a few things to see what works best for you. And we'll only be here for 3 minutes. So although it seems like it takes a really long time, it's just worth getting into so that you're getting that 70% stretch. And you can find stillness and stay. If this is not at all working for you, then I encourage you to get into Happy Baby. For those of you that don't know what that is, you'd get on your back, you bring your knees in toward your chest. Maybe take your shins parallel to the earth and stretch your feet flex your feet so that they're pointing up to the ceiling. And you can just hold here. This tends to be a really comfortable stretch for everyone. I'm going to get myself back into saddle pose. And we've got about 1 more minute here. So remember to use your breath. Breathe in and out through your nose. Elongate the breath where you can. And even out the breath so that the inhales match the exhales. It calms the body and relaxes the mind. Okay, 5 more breaths here. One more deep breath in and deep breath out. And then you're going to have to press your hands into the floor. Press your forearms into the floor too. And then just start to walk yourself up. And then I like to come all the way forward, pressing into hands and knees, and then swing my legs to the side. And we'll come to seated. Our next pose is going to be a heart bench, which is a chest opener. So you'll feel it through your collarbones and through your chest. And for this, we generally need 2 blocks. Again, you can create a stack of books that's about this level. And if the books or even the blocks are too rigid for your body, feel free to drape them with a blanket. So we're going to take 1 block so that it is vertical on the mat, and that, think of it as going right in between your shoulder blades, and then 1 block on the second height of the blocks, or a little bit higher if you're using books, and that's just to rest your head. So I like to put a blanket over my block that's going in between my shoulder blades. I reach back with my hands to make sure that I know I can hold the block steady, and then I slowly lower down. We don't want it touching the lower back, so not the small of the back, but a little bit more high up on the back, like where your mid-back or thoracic spine is. And then you're going to lower yourself down, and then I'm going to reach for that second block and rest my head under. Rest the block so that my head is totally secure there. And the action, the opening, is the shoulders are rolling over the block and opening through the chest and opening through the collarbones. So this is where our movement is. You can take your hands, maybe bend into the elbows, let palms face up. You can bend into your knees, placing your feet maybe a little bit wider, like mat width, and then bring the knees together, or you can extend your legs out long. See which one feels better for your body. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes. Make sure that you're comfortable. You can find stillness. I'm having to readjust because I've got a hair clip in my hair, so that was not comfortable, but this is good. And now we just find stillness and we stay. Okay, for 5 minutes here. Breathing again. Even inhales and exhales. Relaxing our mind. Relaxing our body. Going to that 70%. If you're feeling any pain ever in any of these poses, it's important to back off. get into it in a slightly varied way, less intense, or come out of it all together. You can always go into that happy baby or child's pose, which tend to be relatively easy for most people to access if the pose is not serving you. And 5 more breaths here. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And finally, one more deep breath in and deep breath out. Good, and then from this pose, we're just going to slowly roll off the blocks onto our right side. Good, and then when you get there, just using your hands to press yourself up to seated one more time. Good, and then this time we're going to come into a seated forward fold, and that's going to get into the hamstrings. So if you know already that you have tight hamstrings, like I do, you might want to roll up a blanket or a towel to just, a couple of inches, and then place it under your knees. And that can help to take too much strain out of the hamstrings, but you'll still get the benefit of the pose. And then we're just going to sit up nice and tall, and then we'll fold forward here over our legs, coming just as far as we can. Again, that's 70%. You can stay right there using your arms, maybe crossing them, or you can feel free to use blocks to stack them up on your legs so that they can support your head here. You can also consider like a little bridge using the blocks or stacks of books and a pillow to rest and lean forward like this so that it can be even more comfortable. And sometimes if you can't get even down that far, you can bring the pillow or something into you and then just lean forward as much as you can. Good, and we'll stay here, your version of the pose, for 5 minutes. Once again, focusing in on our breath, finding peace of mind and peace in the body. And 5 more breaths here. And then slowly sitting up, walking your hands up your legs, and removing your props. We'll come into our final resting pose, our Shavasana, which I'm going to suggest for today we do legs up the wall. So to get into legs up the wall, we need to scooch our hips over toward the wall, and then we kind of lean back on our forearms as we lift our legs up the wall, resting our head back down on the mat or the floor. And legs up the wall is a very restorative pose. It allows your body to get into the parasympathetic nervous system, the opposite of your fight or flight stress mode, and gives you a deep rejuvenation, restoration. Great way to start your day or end your day or end your yoga practice. So we'll be here for 5 minutes or however long you would like to stay. If you know you'd like to stay longer, then why don't you just go ahead and turn the video off, and we'll close out here so that you can stay as long as you like. The light in me truly honors and respects the light in each one of you. Thank you for joining me in this Yin Yoga practice today. Namaste.